Hey everyone, last week I brought you the topic of the Kingdom falling down, the Kingdom being Kings Gaming Club and their ultimate demise and their loss of all their teams. I mentioned I would go over a few of the possibilities as to why they may have crashed, but I am sticking to my word and I'm not touching on the rumors that are going around. I'm just going to provide a couple examples of what may have happened. So the first example is a possibility of mismanagement. So I'm not sure who they got involved to help out within the organization, but I know Belle and I've known her for quite some time and she's a great girl, but she's a streamer and I'm not sure how much, first of all, passion she has for esports within itself, running a business and chasing after all the players' needs, sponsors, anything else that comes with it, tournaments and working with the TOs and the admins. I'm not sure if she's the right person for that or if she had the passion for it. So unless she had the right group of people around helping out, mismanagement is definitely going to come into play. Now, in saying that, it's a bit of an unlikely scenario because from all reports, the players, at least the CSGO players, were getting paid quite well. Now, if that is the case, mismanagement shouldn't matter because players really wouldn't care regardless. I mean, you have a job, you probably hate your management or the people you work with, but you still do it, right? So if the money's good or it's a payday at all, you're probably going to hang around. So it's a possibility, but it's a bit of an unlikely scenario. Now, the second scenario, which is probably highly likely and probably one of the main causes, in my opinion, is just the teams falling apart and the teams not working, which seems to have happened. In particular, the case of the Call of Duty team, right? So they went overseas, come back, basically, we don't want to play together anymore. At least that's what it looks like from face value. So that makes sense. The Overwatch team seems to be a very similar type of scenario. A player bounces and they don't want to hang around anymore, or whether they just want to jump ship, who knows? But it seems quite likely. But again, the CSGO team, they're doing well. 4 of the 5 originals are still together. So it seems unlikely that that is the ultimate demise. And don't forget the CSGO team were the first team to basically jump ship. So, it's very likely that Kings kind of just fell apart and they couldn't be bothered following up after the teams fell apart due to, players not wanting to play together or whatnot. Is a very good possibility, but we have to remember that the CSGO team still left and only one player was changed. So it's hard to say that's the real reason. So the ultimate possibility, which I think is probably the most likely, is the fact that it's quite obvious Kings had an investor, right? They can't be throwing around that kind of money and get that deeply involved at such a high level so quickly without having an investor backing them up and being able to pay the players and pay for the travel and everything else that comes with it, right? So they had an investor, no doubt. But Kings failed to bring in any source of income at all from what I can see from an outside looking in, right? So they don't have merchandise. They don't have any kind of advertising going on. There's definitely no sponsorship, or at least any announced sponsorship, but it would seem redundant to have a sponsor that you don't announce, right? Because a sponsor is just trying to get basically advertising space. So, for a team that's putting in so much money and to receive 0 in return, that would make any investor unhappy, right? So an investor's not there to go, here's some money, have fun. An investor's like, here's some money, make me more money. Like turn your business into a mega structure of revenue, right? So they're there to make money. That's their whole objective and that's why they get involved in the first place. So they're probably looking at that going, you've had all these results, we're throwing in all this money, you've got such a good team, your brand's actually kicking off quite well. Where's the results to show for it? We don't have any money coming in. Fair enough, you've won some tournaments and whatnot, whether they had a cut of that or all of that, but still that wouldn't even account for the amount of money they were throwing back at the CSGO team. Or at least from what I've been told they were getting paid, it definitely would not have covered it. So, they've been throwing around a fair bit of money for this team and they're not seeing anything in return. So the investor could have potentially pulled the plug, and just gone, this doesn't seem like a good investment. We're not making the money we thought we would. We're not seeing any results in the business area. There's no progression, no sponsors, you're not advertising, you're not really, doing event appearances. What are you doing? So that seems like the most likely scenario is that the investors pulled out and Kings are basically falling apart off the back of it. Now, if that is the case, perhaps maybe the CSGO team's seen it coming and jumped ship, or maybe they were kind of pushed out, who knows? But the CSGO was basically their flagship. Without the CSGO team, Kings is just another failed org, right? There's 1,000,001 orgs that can pick up a random Overwatch team or a Call of Duty team, and fair enough, not all of them can send them overseas, but a fair few can. So it's not like, you know, they were going to be anything special just with that. They really needed that CSGO team or perhaps an OPL spot in League of Legends. There's a lot of areas they really needed to stay in, and CSGO was, you know, their bread and butter. It's what they built themselves on, and they didn't really branch out into anything else of importance or value that could have sustained the brand they were trying to build or had built up to already. So yeah, I think the most likely scenario is the investor pulling out. Now, you would think, okay, why did Kings kick off? Why did the investor get involved? If, you know, they're looking at other orgs and what's getting involved, AFL, right? Everyone's going, oh, AFL, let's make a quick buck. It's clear that's not the case in a lot of circumstances. You can't just start up an org, have a team and go, buy me out, right? So there's a few other orgs, which I think I might talk about in a later episode, but there's a few other orgs. Order, Greyhounds, another good one, who's in a very similar situation to Kings in terms of throwing around money, nothing to show for it. Order's pretty new, so they can get away with it for now. But if they're trying to get into esports to make a quick buck, you're in the wrong spot, clearly. The sponsors aren't biting, or maybe you're not working hard enough, or maybe you don't have the right brand. Who knows what it is, but it's not working. And I think the investor probably realized that, and other investors will in the future as well, if, you know, the results aren't coming in the sense of moolah. So I won't go into much more detail than that, but stick around for the next episode because I might just call out the grey dogs.